So in this video, I'd like to talk about sports gambling, and not only just sports gambling, but how sports gambling is creating a larger wealth gap that I don't think too many of us are talking about. And so at the time of this recording, you may have heard of Giannis Antetokounmpo's recent signing with Kalshi. He's signing on as a stakeholder. And so, as we know, there's been various scandals with the NBA, with other sports, especially like MLB. But that's one thing, and there are countless other creators who have talked about it. But the thing I want to talk about is how this is ultimately creating a wealth gap. And I don't see too many people talking about this implication. Also, feel free down in the comments below to put down your bets for this game that you're seeing here. I think the over and under is 6.5. So we've seen various scandals, as I said earlier, with the NBA, whether it's with Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier, a few years ago with Jonte Porter, and we've seen some scandals in MLB and countless other sports. And one thing that I find very interesting is that these are all obviously players that have relatively decent contracts. But I also think that beyond that, it just feels very odd and very dystopian how we have, players who are engaging in this on one end, and then we have others who are promoting it. And I'm sure if you're a sports fan, you've seen countless advertisements with LeBron James and Kevin Hart and other multimillionaires. LeBron, I think, is almost a billionaire or is a billionaire at this point. And they're pushing this on, various audiences. And it just had me thinking, what is the point in all of this? And when you're looking at politics and how things are today, the only conclusion I could come up with is the fact that they are intentionally pushing a wealth gap. And I think there's no way around it. I think that sports gambling, as we know, is unhealthy for many people. But it just feels as if we're in a time now where it's being pushed more than ever. And with the economy the way it is, at this point, it's just very hard to listen to athletes, on one hand, talk about various social efforts and how we need to come together. But then at the same time, they're also pushing gambling, which, as we know, has a rich history in destroying families. And so I have to think that there's a wealth gap that's being created with this. There's countless advertisements that we see. And there used to be a time where celebrities would, tell everyone else to donate for good causes, and they still kind of do. But it just seems like there's been more of a push towards gambling. And I have to wonder why there's been such a push towards gambling. And ultimately, I think we're at a point in society where sports leagues just don't care. I think if we look at ticket prices for the World Cup, for example, ticket prices for the Super Bowl, I think there's just this lack of empathy towards the average consumer. I think if we look at certain prices for NBA games, you have a lot of people who talk about how they have a family and they can't bring their family to a game. I mean, if you account for the amount of money that you're putting towards parking and then food, drinks, and of course the tickets, and you just have to wonder, what is the end game here? I mean, they're ultimately pricing out a large consumer base. And I don't know what the end game is for it. But I don't think it's a very good one. There used to be a time where people felt like they could relate to players, relate to leagues. And I think we're far past that point. And I think gambling is a microcosm of this. Why are they pushing gambling so heavily onto us? What is the end game? I compare it to the lottery and how there's so much hysteria and attention placed on the lottery for the very, 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 very slim chance of you winning. And I think with gambling, I think it creates this very unhealthy culture that breeds this sense of desperation. There's been a lot of people who have been complaining about how certain leagues have been running their product pretty much. And what I think, this is my theory, I can't really back it up, but what I think is that the only reason why gambling has been propagated and has been getting pushed so heavily now is because I think these leagues are desperate, and I think they understand that there are casual fans and there are diehard fans, and there's been a somewhat of a drift and a divide between both parties. And I think they're desperate, and I think the only thing that can keep certain fans interested is by simply endorsing gambling. And so I think many of us shouldn't be too surprised to see this. I don't think too many of us should be surprised to be seeing this, but you also have to ask yourself why, and continue to ask why, and just continue to keep in the back of your mind that at the end of the day, they don't care about you, and the odds are heavily stacked against you. So if I were you, I would just stay away from gambling altogether. I don't think it's very productive for anybody to engage in. If your favorite celebrities are doing it, I would just ignore it. But comment down below and let me know what your bets were for this game that you watched here. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.